how do I support the idea of advising people on magnesium? I'm putting myself on a public platform. There has to be some evidence base, to my mind, because this is what everyone thrives on in the medical world these days. And I found a tiny study in Brazil, which indeed did confirm that actually if you had heart palpitations, in particular extra beats or missed beats, and you took magnesium, a significant number of people felt better.
Now, one of the things that I was curious about, because I checked in on your videos, and I was really blown away about your topic around magnesium and heart health specifically.
Yeah.
And it's been something that I've advocated for many years, and I've used magnesium regularly because, of course, living in North America, we have a massive deficiency in magnesium. I think there's over 350 different pathways that magnesium is an essential component. And, stress and anxiety and caffeination and stimulation actually exhaust our magnesium levels and can have a wide variety of issues and components. What are some of the things that you've learned, and why have you become such a big proponent of magnesium in people's lives?
My first contact with the topic of magnesium came when I started doing some of the YouTube videos. And one of the videos I did was on heart palpitations. And when I did that, a lot of people, I was amazed at how many people responded with heart palpitations. They had been suffering for years. And I started looking into it a little bit more. And I actually found a patient with heart palpitations who'd done a video on magnesium. And I thought, oh, well, I didn't think much of it. But then 2 or 3 people said, I've tried magnesium, it's helped. And I thought, oh, gosh, I'll look into it. When I mentioned it to my colleagues, they said, oh, this is witchcraft, that it there's nothing, So it became really important for me to be able to, because I'd actually recommended it to a few people just on the basis of what I'd heard anecdotally and said, look, you could try that. And they'd come back and said, yes, it has helped. So the next thing was, how do I support the idea of advising people on magnesium? I'm putting myself on a public platform. There has to be some evidence base, to my mind, because this is what everyone thrives on in the medical world these days. And I found a tiny study in Brazil, which indeed did confirm that actually if you had heart palpitations, in particular extra beats or missed beats, and you took magnesium, a significant number of people felt better. So I started looking into it and I thought, okay, this would be useful. I have some evidence here. I have anecdotal experience. I have my own clinical experience that something about magnesium seems to help these people. It improves their quality of life. And that's when I started doing a lot more reading. And I discovered that actually, I knew from a long time ago that virtually all chronic disease is, the core of chronic disease is inflammation, chronic inflammation,
The silent killer. Can't feel it,
exactly.
but it's happening all the time.
Exactly. It is that unhappiness of the body, largely because you're exposing it to an unhappy environment, stress, nutrition, etc. So with regards to the heart, you get hardening of the blood vessels that causes heart attacks. And again, inflammation is the core of that. And I started realizing that smoking, poor nutrition, all this kind of refined food, etc., is probably inflammatory. Lack of exercise, inflammatory. Lack of sleep, which is again probably the second biggest killer, I think, is inflammatory, and then stress is hugely inflammatory. And what we realize from a cardiac perspective is as your arteries harden, what happens is it becomes more difficult for the body to get the blood it needs. So for the heart to get blood in, you need nice compliant blood vessels. Inflamed blood vessels in some way make it more difficult. And so anything that can actually increase the amount of the blood supply to our vital organs, open up our blood vessels is good. Anything that reduces inflammation is good. And one of the other problems is that actually when blood is more difficult to get through, it can stagnate and can form blood clots, etc. So if you had something which also had some degree of anticoagulant properties, that's a good thing. And when you look, magnesium has all those. It's so common. It's used for so many different reactions within the body. It has an anti-inflammatory effect. It has an anticoagulant effect. It opens up the blood vessels. So in that setting, it is the perfect chemical for good heart health. And so then when we start looking, we start realizing that actually it is no secret that 3/4 of the population in the West are magnesium deficient. And that's because of sort of modern farming methods. That's because our stomachs are absorbing less because, lots of people are on proton pump inhibitors. We're suppressing the acid that God gave us. And so you're absorbing less and we're excreting a ton more. There's a lot more sugar in our diet, so we're using a lot more magnesium to break the sugar down. Lots of people are drinking coffee, tea, pharmacological diuretics. And so you're getting less, you're absorbing less, you're using more, you're excreting more. And therefore, not surprisingly, the next thing was, well, what does magnesium deficiency cause? And when you think about it, it seems to cause all the things that plague us these days, tiredness, anxiety, sleep disturbance, depression, restless legs, heart palpitations, all these things, elevated blood pressure because of the hardening of the arteries. When you look at magnesium, it can achieve a little bit of an improvement in blood pressure because of its vasodilatory properties. So again, to all intents and purposes, here was an agent that we started off with some proof that it seemed to help. And then when you look at the properties, you say, wow, it does have some good properties about it. And we know that lots of people are deficient in it. So why not recommend it to people? And at the end of the day, my reason for recommending it was not because, oh, you take it, you'll live long. My reason for recommending it is take it and see if you feel better. And if you feel better, that benefit's yours to have. What's not to like about feeling better? And we know it's safe. We know that you have to take a ton of magnesium to actually overdose. So at recommended doses, it's safe. Why not give it a go? And a lot of people came back and they said, oh, since you recommended the magnesium, I'm sleeping so much better. Oh, my heart palpitations have gone. My restless legs are better. This happens to me every single day where someone will come and say, oh, that magnesium recommended has changed my life every single day.